It's weird, man. You're gonna watch this movie, and at one point, I'm dressed like Batman, swinging around. 20 years later, he's dressed like Batman, swinging around. I got there first. Fuck him. How was it working with him? He was for years, early in my career, they would write about us like, oh, they're like Scorsese and De Niro. Not good, but the bad version of that. Like, he always works with him. How nice. So a lot of my early work, man, features Ben, because I love him. He's one of the most charming people I ever met. I'm always attracted to people who know exactly who they are in life, because I've never known who I am. You could push me fucking off who I am at any given moment. I'm so fucking wishy-washy and shit. So I'm always drawn to people that are fucking strong, resolute. They don't give a fuck what other people say. Walter Flanagan, the guy that's on Comic Book Men, that was a dude, like, I met him, he was like in his early 20s. I was coming out of high school and he was talking about comic books, and I was like, comic books? You can't read comic books, you're almost 20. And he was like, here, and he gave me a copy of Dark Knight Returns, and he was like, read this, dude. And he goes, come back and you tell me if this is for kids. And I came back, and we all know that book is amazing. And I was like, this ain't kid stuff at all. He goes, that's right, Batman breaks somebody's fucking spine, dude. He's like, that's not for children. Fuck anybody that says I can't read this. So I'm always drawn to people like that. Jason Mewes knows exactly who he is, and who he is fucking weird, but he knows exactly who he is, and that's why I'm always drawn to him, because he makes no apologies about who he is. And so Ben Affleck was one of those people, absolutely. When I met him, he knew exactly who the fuck he was, and the first conversation we had was, he came in to audition for this movie. I had read in the Hollywood Reporter that morning that he had sold a script called Good Will Hunting with his lover, if I remember correctly, to Castle Rock. So, you know, I was like, holy shit, this guy, he was the guy in Dazed and Confused who was beating people with a paddle. He wrote a fucking script. That's weird. So when he came into audition, we had something to talk about. Because I was like, dude, I just read that you sold a script. And he was like, you read that? I was like, yeah, I read the trades, man. He goes, why? And I was like, I don't know, it's our business. He goes, maybe I should read the trades. And he won an Academy Award. So I was just like, hey man, like, how did that happen? He's like, me and my friend wrote a script, we sold it on spec, they'd sold it for like 800 grand. So I was fascinated. I was like, you're not content to just be an actor. And that was his whole thing. He was like, we would wait for roles, nobody gave it to us, so we were like, fuck it, let's write it ourselves. So I was drawn to him fucking right away. Jim Jacks, who was the producer, one of the producers on this movie, he had worked with Ben on Dazed and Confused. And Jim, I love Jim to death, but Jim was like, don't hire that guy. And I was like, why? He goes, he has a potty mouth. I said, really? He goes, yeah, and Dazed and Confused, man. He kept saying, fuck, 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 fuck. Kept adding a lot of fucks. He's going, this fucking Mallrats script has too many fucks in it now. If you put him in it, it's going to be a fuck fest. You know? And that sounded good to me, so I was like, let's cast this guy. So, hanging out with him on Mallrats, he was real fucking sweet, man. That's what I loved about Affleck. Real fucking sweet. Like, he was working on Good Will Hunting, and Castle Rock was producing it at that time. It was before it left, and we brought it to Miramax. So, he didn't shoot every day on Mallrats. He's kind of a smaller part. So my man would be like, would you mind if I went back to Los Angeles and worked on Good Will Hunting script? Because we're getting closer to shooting, blah, blah. I said, yeah, dude, as long as you come back when we got to shoot your scenes, totally. So before he left, he would write, he did this 3 fucking times. He wrote a note, which, you know, in the day of the text, he'd probably just send a text. This is 1995. I went into my office at the mall and there was a note on the desk. And it was from fucking Affleck. And he goes, I just want you to know that I'm having a really good time. Thanks for letting me go to this thing. Most movies I work on aren't fun. This is really fun, so it's not a good sign for its box office prospects. Love, Ben. You know, just real sweet shit. And so he'd come back and then he'd be like, do you mind if I go back? I said, yeah, go ahead. And he'd always leave me a fucking note. Like, he was raised well. So when he was all done with the movie, man, he came into the office and he gave me a hug and he was just like, dude, where are you going to cut this? And I was like, they're cutting it in Los Angeles, so I'm going out to LA. He's like, well, I fucking live in LA. He's going, and I know you're coming out there, so you should look me up. We should hang out. I'm a good guy. He literally pitched himself as a good guy. And I bought it, you know, I was just like, yeah, you are one. And so our friendship began. I always thought he was so fucking charming and funny and smart. He's way overeducated. And again, knows exactly who he is. So I always felt he was like, he could be a leading man. I was like, dude, why aren't you a leading man? He's like, because you cast me as the guy that fucks people in Volkswagens and shit like that. So I was like, somebody should cast you as leading man. So when I started writing Chasing Amy, I started writing it with Ben, because I was like, he could totally be a leading man. And so I called him up one day. I was in Florida. I was in Tampa. Joey Adams was shooting a show out there, so I was out there, and I'd written this scene that I really thought he would like, and I hadn't told him that I was writing for him. So I called him up. I was like, hey man, it's me. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm in Florida. He's like, why? And I was like, I'm visiting people and shit. I said, dude, I gotta tell you, man, I'm writing a follow-up to Mallrats. He goes, what is it? I said, Chasing Amy. He goes, what's it about? I was like, it's about a man who falls in love with a lesbian and shit. And he goes, ooh, that's racy. Because it was like 96. And he goes, oh, who am I? Somebody that beats some other asshole up? And I go, no, you're the guy that falls in love with the lesbian. And he goes, well, that's fucking gonna be easy, man. He's going, oh my God, I'm the lead? I said, yeah. He's going, like, thank you for casting me. I said, why? And I was like, I don't know, I think you're funny, man. I think you can pull it off and shit. And so I was dating Joey Adams at the time, the girl who plays Alyssa in the movie. And so he was just like, wait a second, dude, so I'm gonna be macking up on Joey Adams? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, this is some sick cuckold shit, isn't it? I said, no, I just think she's a good actress, you're a good actor, you'd be good together. He's like, all right. And he came down to Jersey to pick up the script when I was in Jersey. We came back from Mallrats, had a bunch of pages and shit. The whole script was done. No, half the script was done. So he came down from Boston, and I was like, dude, here's half a script. He goes, half a script? What the fuck? And I was like, I'm not done yet, but I know, I want you to see where it is and see where it's going. And he's like, well, you gonna drive me home? And I was like, to Boston? Fuck you, take a train. And he was like, God, he's like, I'm gonna be done with this script like an hour into the train ride. He said, do you have anything else to read? And I had written a script called Dogma. And I was like, I wrote a script years ago called Dogma. And so I gave him the script to Dogma, and he's like, I'll read this. He's like, what's it about? I was like, angels. And he was like, all right. And he read it on the way home. And he called me when he got to Boston, because again, this ain't the age of the cell phone and shit. So he gets to Boston, he calls me, and I'm like, what'd you think of Chasing Amy? And he goes, fuck the lesbian picture. He's going, this religious picture is the way to go. He's going, I want to be Bartleby. And I was like, really? And he's like, fuck, this is pimp. Bartleby says the coolest shit. He wears armor, he's got wings. He's going, this is going to be amazing. And I was like, dude, you're not big enough to be that guy. And he's going, what are you talking about? I got guns. I was like, no, your physical form is fine, but like, that's a pretty big part. Like, nobody's going to let you play that part right now and shit. We got to do Chasing Amy first. And he's like, oh, fucking fine. So Chasing Amy was the movie that Ben tolerated until we got to Dogma. And he was that movie's biggest cheerleader and champion. The only reason that movie eventually got made was because he had insane passion for it. So I loved working with him. We don't really work. We haven't worked together since Clerks 2 and stuff. Last time I saw him, I haven't even seen him in years. Last time I saw him was at the premiere of Argo at the Directors Guild, and he invited me to go, and I saw Flick, and I loved it. It was great. And on the way out, he was talking to somebody important, and I saw him, and I went like this, and he went, and I went like that, and that was that. And then the last exchange, I know it's like something out of Good Will Hunting or something, but there was one really cool exchange that happened prior to that via email. Most of our exchanges now are in email, and he's a great writer, so that's kind of fun and shit. And so I reached out to him on Red State. We'd made this movie called Red State, and he had cherry picked. Somebody was like, "Boo, fuck you, get him." Anyway, we made this flick Red State, and one day he called me. He was like, hey dude, I heard about your movie, can I watch it? Can I borrow a print? Because I had a print, this was before it was on video and stuff. And I said, yeah. I sent over a 35mm print, and came back 2 days later, no note, no message, no call, nothing like that. So I didn't hear anything about what he thought about the movie. And then I looked in the trades like 2 days later, and it said John Goodman cast in Argo. And John Goodman was in Red State, and I was like, holy shit, man, he's working with fucking Goody too, this is cool, man. Then I saw another notice, Carrie Bechet, she was in Red State, cast in Argo. And I was like, well, this is not just a coincidence. Like, this is weird. And then I saw Michael Parks, who was in Red State, and he was like, your friend asked me to be in his movie and play Jack Kirby. And I was like, all right, fucking, he's stealing my cast, man. So I wrote to him, and I was like, what the fuck, dude? 3 people from fucking Red State said they're in Argo. Did you like the movie, you know? And he wrote back, he's like, well, I'm stealing your cast, I must have liked something. And so I was like, do me a favor. I said, dude, Quentin gave us a quote for the poster. And the Quentin quote we were using for a long time just said, I fucking love this movie, Quentin Tarantino. So I was like, can you give me a new quote? I was like, you directed The Town. They think of you as a director now. Send me a fucking quote that we could swap out, man, that you say something cool about the movie. You like it and shit. And he goes, all right, I'll do that. And he sent me an email 20 minutes later, and this was his pull quote. This movie has an excellent cast. So I wrote him back and I was like, what the fuck, dude? You can't dig deeper than that, man? Like, how about pretend I'm Matt Damon? Write a love letter and shit. And so he's like, all right, I'll fuck. He said, what did Quentin say? And I was like, Quentin said I fucking love this movie. And he goes, all right, fair enough. And he sent me an email 20 minutes later, and his pull quote was, I fucking love this movie more than Quentin Tarantino. But I think about him as the dude, he sold me his house. Like after 2001, I've lived in his house for 13 years. He lived in for 1 year.
This is in LA?
In LA, and I still call it Ben's house. But it's the house that he, like, you know, partied in after he won Oscars and shit. Like when I went there first time, 8 people were living in it, 8 dudes, all his friends. Wow. So it was a real like frat house. And then he sold it to me back in 2002, and I've raised my kid there, my wife there and shit. So it's like a real family house to me. Right. And he came to play poker once, this is like 5 years ago and shit. And he's looking around the house like it's a distant, foggy memory. And he's like, I can't remember a lot of things. Yeah, well, I don't know, maybe. So, but he's just like, dude, I can't believe you spent the money and put fireplaces into the house. And I was like, I didn't. You had fireplaces. And he was like, did I? Why did I never use them, man? So I always think of him, as much as I think of him as the guy that I worked with